Hello, 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 and welcome to the Linwood's Gospel Entertainment Podcast, where we talk to inspire. Please like, comment, follow, and subscribe, and you can download for free, and you'll never, ever miss another episode of this uplifting podcast. My guest today is Dr. Frederick Jacobs, a.k.a. Dr. J. He is the CEO and founder of Celebrities Soul Food, along with his wife, Taja. Is that right, Taja?
Taja, T-H-A-A, yes ma'am, Taja.
But Celebrities Soul Food is the fastest growing soul food chain, and it has multicultural franchisees. The doctor holds 2 doctorate degrees. He counsels, he inspires people to greatness all over. He's a TV personality. He hosts a weekly radio show called Dr. J, the Counselor, on Stevie Wonder's legendary station in Los Angeles, KJLH 1023. And he's a pastor on top of all of that. So, Dr. J, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And again, I'm so thankful to be here, and I'm excited, and I just really appreciate you and all that you do. You're a rock star. I think you're one of the baddest women on the planet, and you happen to be a woman of faith at the same time, so you don't get no better than that. So God bless you, dear.
Well, God bless you, and thank you for that. That does wonders for me today. Praise God. Now, you've got such an inspiring story, and you have one of the fastest growing soul food franchises. But before we get into that, let's find out a little bit about you. You have these multiple degrees, and you grew up in a household of faith. How did you go from the background that you have, into the food industry? Or does it all tie back into family?
You know, it does. It ties to family, and ultimately what we've known for years ago, a ministry, because when you affiliate with church and going to services on Sunday, what brought people all together outside of just the worship alone is coming and having family dinner together and things of that nature. So I've grown up around food all of my life. I grew up in a small city called Hot Springs, Florida. I grew up on a ranch with beef, master cattle, and quarter horses, you see?
Oh, okay.
It's just sometimes if you ever felt like, some people I think maybe will feel me on this, is that every now and again you meet those people who's bigger than the area they are or bigger than the life they live. That has always been me. You know, for most people, they may be thinking when I was growing up, like, God, who is this child? Because he's always thinking. But for me on the inside, I just wanted more. Nothing was wrong with the status quo. I just wanted more.
Okay.
And when your reality don't match up to what God has placed in your heart, it bothered me. And so you would see me not frustrated, but me striving for something that maybe don't make sense to everybody else that I'm around at the time. So always been around food. My mother is African-American and Indian, so spices and all those dynamics I grew up with, and I've always seen it bring people together. So it's something that always stayed and resonated with me along my journey.
Now, along this journey, you're a chef, so you were catering to celebrities. How did that happen? Okay, you learned about cooking from your family, but how did you come from that into catering and doing your food thing for celebrities?
Well, it's so interesting is because, you know, along the way, I've always, one of the biggest things was it was not so much about food at the time, it was just entrepreneurship as a whole. I believed as a pastor, as a young man, you know, getting himself degreed and educating himself, is that I wanted that empowerment. You know, it's one thing to pray for people, and this was the spiritual side to it. I wanted to pray. I believe ultimately prayer is the answer. But then what would happen is that people would leave, and yet, you know, if you pray for someone who is hungry, don't have, that's empowering, that helps them to hold on, but they need the food too. So I wanted to make sure, how can I be an empowerment that I can offer them all the spirituality, feed their soul, but make sure in a physical manner that we have the resources to assist in changing their lives, that we can be that conduit for God, to say, sing your blessings through me to connect to people. And doing so, when I looked at the food industry and those dynamics or what have you, the first perspective of it is that I looked at it from an entrepreneur's perspective of, this is a niche that's missing. You gotta understand, when I looked around in the marketplace, what have you, and traveling and dealing with different celebrities and catering, it was all the same consistent story, that they would travel and they would go and they all love soul food, but there was so many inconsistencies. Either they couldn't find it, or it wasn't up to par, or wasn't the same thing, or what have you. And I was like, man, do you know soul food is the only cuisine that, number one, has not come to mainstream, that's not consistent everywhere, or what have you, and that's not represented in a manner it should be as the other great culinary cuisines, such as Italian and Asian and etc. So I found my niche. Now, what ultimately really put me on track, and I want to give kudos, is Rashawn McDonald and Steve Harvey. I was catering for Steve Harvey, and I connected with Rashawn McDonald, things of that nature, and I was just on a show the other day, Conversation Matters, for entrepreneurs, and he reminded me of my journey with him and Steve, and in that interaction, he said, stay the course. He said, stay focused, stay the course, but you have something there, and I kept my head down, Lynn, and I worked, and I did the work, and I invested in a place that maybe sometimes to people that's not always the most comfortable, because I could have kept just pastoring normally and the other dynamics or whatever, but I saw an opportunity to scale a business and take it to where we are today. We are an $800 million project and business that we're doing as we speak.
Amen. As they would say, well, look at God.
Won't he do it?
Won't he do it?
Won't he will?
Oh,
I always let it. I always let it.
Your faith has factored greatly in what you do. Am I right?
Absolutely. More so than, many times people think, successful people, things of that nature, comes without pain or sacrifice of things of that nature. I have a slogan that I live by, is pain can produce purpose if you're willing to push. That's my mantra. It's because it has not always been easy. As a matter of fact, I stand and I sit in the seats that I sit in, and I'm on the platforms that I'm on, and I'm doing what I do successfully because pain, many of the times, has produced me to stand where I am. It wasn't just always the sunny days that informs you, that develops you. It's the things that you learn from the sorrow and the pains that you go through that you have to continue to press. And when you learn how to press and push, you belong where you're standing in your truth and with your God. It's called commitment.
Commitment. All right, then. Let's talk a little bit about soul food in itself. In the past, it has been criticized as a food that wasn't the best for us, and coming out of slavery, and we took scraps and bits and pieces and made wonderful meals out of them. And some of us have developed like high blood pressure and things like that. So how were you able to come up with your recipes for soul food that are healthier for our diets?
Okay, so this is the great thing I love, and I have to sit on the edge of my seat and get passionate about this. It's because we are, as Celebrity Soul Food, the fastest growing soul food chain, the largest in America, and we are ultimately have now been quoted as the new manager of soul food. In that responsibility, I now say that I'm also responsible to make sure that this story is told correctly. What happens is when you're dealing with vegan, vegetarian, keto, soul food is not far from knowing what that is or operating within that. The problem is that, say for instance, like pork. We are a pork-free zone, which is a lot of the troubles when it comes to African Americans and certain cultures with high blood pressure and things of that nature and unhealthiness. But this is the thing. Pork and salting did not derive out of Africa, things of that nature. When we came over in what I call the New World, that those preservatives, those preservation dynamics was handed over to us as a skill set. We didn't necessarily need it. So you have to understand now is that soul food is not something that you have to have a cheat day to have it. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Soul food is an amazing dynamic, but it don't have to kill you either. It's no different than all the other great cuisines. I mean, you can have high cholesterol with Italian food. You could.
Yeah.
You see? So when it comes to soul food, one, telling the story, right, two, is what grandmother and grandma them did not have is the premium ingredients that's available to us today as trained and skilled chefs. But more so than that, what's really important because of the position I hold is my business acumen. It's because I build the alliances and the distribution to be able to access those ingredients so that I can make the same fabulous greens and you won't have no pork or any of those dynamics in it, and your pressure don't have to go sky high, and you can eat it more than 2 and 3 times a week, and you don't have to call it your cheat day, you see?
So what is it that you would use in your greens that would be better for us than, like you were talking about, that pork?
Well, the first dynamic is two things. Number one is, got to rid yourself of the pork. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The situation that people have is they're thinking that's all your flavor dynamics in it, and then people have reverted to potentially turkey and things of that nature, and there's nothing wrong with that, but some people don't like the flavor dynamic of turkey meat or what have you. We do it in a way that you don't have to have any meat in it necessarily. It's a vegan green or what have you. It allows you to taste the green, all the flavors in it, but it's about really what it's about with the green is the broth. The problem with your traditional, authentic soul food dynamic, what people have known of old, is the oils that they're putting in the greens. You know, they put vegetable oil, You know what I mean? Peanut oil. But let me ask you a question. When have you ever seen a true vegetable produce oil?
Look, you got me.
See? So that can't be real. That no good for you. You know there has to be something else in it. When have you seen a peanut produce oil? You know all the treatments to that. So it's the dynamics that they're doing to the ingredients that causes. So when a person was eating the green, I can assure you, they was not trying to clot up their artery. And I promise I'll regress after this, but this is all you have to do. If you take lard or, the grease and the oils that they use of oil, and you know how it was like thick and white, but when you heat it up, it thins, correct?
Right.
Right, because guess what? It has to be heated to a certain temperature. Usually when we're frying, let's take chicken and things of that nature, when we're frying at 300 degrees, 325, 350, okay? So watch this now. At 300, 325, 350, the oil is melted and it's thinned out, okay? But what happens is if you let that oil cool, it thickens up, yes?
Yes.
Well, when you allow that hot oil to enter into your body, to come through your arteries and veins, if you have a fever, your temperature is what? Anything over 101?
Yeah.
102, 103, right?
102, something like that, yeah.
Right, which means that your body can't even get hot enough to dispel that oil, which means that your body is too cold, your core temperature. And guess what happens? What clogs arteries? It thickens up. It causes blockage.
Yeah.
So first of all, just starting right there is if you change to a premium oil, which you have grapeseed oil and so many different dynamics that are trade secrets or whatever, you don't have to have those conditions. Some oils are not to be heated. So imagine entering that into your body. You're entering in some detrimental dynamics that had nothing to do per se with the green itself. It's the things that you're adding to the dish.
Now, you're talking about oils. What do you think about canola oil? A lot of people are using that.
I said stay away from all of it. What is canola oil? How someone just breaking down
It's like canola oil.
We have to become more informed. There is dynamics in there. What I'm really going to do, because we have some books and cookbooks and dynamics that are coming out with celebrities where we inform our people or what have you, is there's so many premium dynamics. But let me give you the truth to the industry.
Okay.
Most of the things that we're using, we have access to, you're talking about 6 years of developing and accessing those relationships. And I've spent over $1.8 million to access what we have. What happens is these things are not just easily found because you have to bring them in from abroad. You know what I mean? Can you get it from overseas and different areas or what have you? Because it's not always readily available in the United States. The everyday entrepreneurship, your mom and pop shops can get it. And then everyday civilians in their home, it's not in your local grocery store. So if you don't know what to look for to access, if you're not informed, you continue to repeat the same habits because it's readily available to you and people, it's too much of a process to access it. So they revert back to what they only know to do.
I know, because if you go into a lot of our neighborhoods and you go to those stores in the neighborhood, it could even be like a chain store in that community, and they still will stock some of those things that are not the greatest for us, but they say it's because there is a demand for that, supply and demand. They don't ask for it. They don't put it out there for us.
Well, the truth to that is, if they want to really be transparent and honest, it's not just about the demand, because we're intelligent people. We will ask for anything that is good and that is helping us. The reason they don't put it there is about affordability, because healthier dynamics, in a sense, cost more. And you have to have buying power to come down. So even when you're talking about businesses, restaurants probably will use them more, but they charge the entrepreneurs so much because they only can buy so much. I have buying powers because I'm a corporate. We have over 40 stores in development. So you see a lot of money's been invested. So I have the leverage of the buying power to get the cost down so it's affordable for our franchisees. Whereas if you're doing a business by yourself, people normally don't have the capital to use that buying power to get the cost down so that the product makes sense to use so that they can still make money. Well, when you're talking about a grocery store for a certain community, they look at the income level, they look at all the different variables to say, okay, these people need this type of affordability. So they don't stock the counters with things that's about betterment of community. They stock it with what they believe people will buy,
right,
and can afford.
And that also is a problem with us in terms of organic food. How a lot of our people may not eat organic or buy organic because of the price point.
Absolutely. And that's where, I love, and that's some of our philanthropy work that's why I love community gardens. That's why I love even doing the business the way we're doing it and empowering, because it's my gift back. If I can empower more entrepreneurs to open these type of businesses, to make things like this accessible, so that when, it's for all people, but specifically by the African-American people, when they want to eat out and have the cultural dishes or what have you, they can do so and not cause harm to themselves. You see what I'm saying? I mean, traditional dishes are there, but if they literally, because they need gluten-free, if they need the vegan, the vegetarian, or they have high cholesterol, whatever, they can still stay within the ramification of their cultural dishes and not compromise their health.
Before we get into talking about your rollout and everything, tell me what are some of your best dishes or favorite dishes that the franchises will have in them?
Well, we've been highlighted, and certainly we're going to receive awards for these that are coming up. We have 24-karat infused gold wings. They are amazing. They are great flavor. Men and women can eat them. They're not spicy hot. They're just great flavor, but they are infused in gold sauce. Of a recipe that we created, we are one of 2 restaurants that even serve it in the United States, and it's just impeccable. The presentation is amazing, but they're amazing in flavor. So that's one of the ones that we stand behind. That's going to be that good chicken, but at the same token of it is done in a different way. Another dish is that we do wild and adventurous, which means that in a soul food and African experience or what have you, we take people on a solar journey. Things that they normally couldn't necessarily get their hands on, but can have it in an amazing way. So we serve an amazing antelope, something that is in our home country of Africa that people that never get a chance to taste. We provide that dynamic for them if they want to experience it, but it really is good. I promise you. We do it in an amazing way. It's so flavorful. We do ossobuco, venison, deer meat. I mean, we do, of course, do your oxtails, but we demi-glaze. So we do a mixture between our southern oxtail and our Caribbean brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, and it's amazing. So we do a lot of infusion because what you see, Lynn, is that in different cuisines, Italian, Asian, and so on, many of them infuse our soul dishes into their cuisine. That's where foodies are right now. That's where the trend is. So what we did is elevated our soul food dynamic, brought premium ingredients, but we did a lot of infusion ourselves, but counteracted it with bringing Asian and American contemporary and Italian and French and infuse it into our soul food dishes to bring a premium presentation that you can go out and experience your dynamic. But I promise you, this is grandma food, but this is grandma 2.0.
Grandma 2.0.
Absolutely. This is grandma 2.0.
Grandma 2.0. I really,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that. Now, your franchisees, you got a multicultural rainbow list of folks that are your franchisees, and that's interesting with them coming on board as franchisees. How easy is it or how difficult is it for you to get franchisees? Because you're going to be rolling out 200 to 300 stores, so you got a lot of people.
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you. So first of all, we was just over in just this month alone. We are over in 320 articles and media productions because of what we're doing in Breaking History, and I'm so thankful for it. But it is what you said, it's so diverse. It's because that's what I love about soul food. Soul food don't just it's in representation of our culture, but it don't belong to a one. People all have experienced it. There's such a story to it. I tell people, and I'm gonna get further into it, is that soul food is not about just spices. That's been the differentiation between Southern food and soul food. I get that. What soul food is to me, Lynn, is I remember growing up and I was on my grandmother's floor sleeping, out in the country or whatever. And the kids want to go outside because, you want to play, but it was raining. And that's a real bad feeling. Well, I woke up because I smelled this pound cake, this aroma that my grandmother was making. And I got up and I walked in the kitchen and they stuck it in my mouth. And I remember tasting so good. And I looked outside, Lynn, and guess what? The rain was gone and the sun was shining. Girl, that's soul food. See, everybody got that story. It's because for some people, soul food is they remember cooking it with their grandmother, their mother. And now, their mother or grandmother has gone on to glory. But sometimes when you're cooking Thanksgiving and you're in that kitchen or what have you, and tears are rolling, not because you're upset, because of joy, because that's what you remember. It connects you to this lineage, this storyline, this soul food. So when you talk about has it been easy to find franchisees, this has probably been the most easiest time in my life. Even amidst the pandemic, we grew over 140%. Wow. We didn't have to furlough no one. We didn't have to let nobody go. As a matter of fact, we've been hiring and bringing on because what the pandemic did for us is that it allowed people in this country, to me, to stop and to prioritize that they've been working all this time for somebody else and have nothing to show for it. Some folks have been working for people and they received the furlough, received the pink slip, 20 and 15 years dedicated, and was let go. And they was the one running the restaurant or the hospitality business. So what we did is we built a program that's for selected people who has the experience in the hospitality and the restaurant industry to say, listen, if you have the experience, if the leadership ability, and we have a certain credit score dynamic, whatever, we bring them into the program and we afford them and award them an opportunity to own their location, and we assist them in getting their projects funded, thus they can own their own business and ultimately their own destiny. And I did it that way because we got galore of calls from investors all around the world. I got calls from Dubai, all the way from different resorts and things of that nature that want to buy in. The first year of me doing this, I didn't even take any of those investors on, what have you, because I wanted this program to move forward. And I'm so glad to report on your show today that we have literally 40 entrepreneurs that come from literally the industry. They never had an opportunity to own their business, but have open businesses for people, ran their restaurants, hospitality, catering, dynamics, or whatever, that are in full development, that's going to be coming online this first quarter, that's going to be opening their stores. And it blesses my heart. The business is now curving because now investors and all these big people that are money people are coming in. But I just wanted people to understand that this storyline do not lie about this was a journey about finances. This was a journey about empowerment, helping people who deserve to get the shot to own their businesses and ultimately change their lives and their community.
I'm listening to you say, okay, there's that counselor, there's that empowerment man going right there, encouraging people into their greatness and whatever that may be.
Absolutely, Lynn. I think one of the things of it is, and this is the firm believer, because I believe that you can have no theology without some psychology to this thing. And what I want to say to, God's people, to every person, every individual, wherever they are, this is the time, and I hope they understand me, because, yes, I'm not just being kind about it, cool about it, because people are missing the opportunity, missing the blessings of God, the promise of God in their life. The reality of it is that I'm so glad that Martin Luther King dreamed. I'm glad he dreamt. I am. But the dream is over. And what I mean by that is he dreamt so that we could wake up. People, I'm saying to you, stop dreaming and get up and let's go. People are feeling stuck. People are procrastinating. People are saying the same, I'm going to get started one day. When this. It'll never come. You got to let's go. Move forward, get unstuck, and stop hanging out with folks who have input about your life that ain't being where you're trying to go.
I am totally there with you. We need to be with people who can help us go to the next level and not folks that want to take you backwards.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, nobody can be louder than your God. It's too noisy in people's lives. We got all these co-signers in our lives that has poor credit, can't get you nothing. But they got all the things to say. That cannot be the person who has the most influence in your life. You need people in your life that's going to challenge you and also say to you that, you know what, you're sleeping too much. Because you know what, because my thing is, Lynn, is how much sleep do broke need?
Not much.
You know what I'm saying?
Look, if you ain't had nothing, you don't have nothing before you go into sleep, and then so when you wake up, it's still gonna be there.
Absolutely. Wealthy people, we don't sleep. What have you? It's because it's not about just attaining. You got to keep it. You got to keep it moving forward. What have you? I maybe get 3 or 4 hours, but guess what? Even when I'm tired, it's a good tired. It's a good tired to know that you're walking in the purpose of God. It's a good tired to know that you're working for yourself and you're moving forward. It's a good tired to know that you're in the right position of life to move yourself or what have you. It's a grateful place. But to just to lay there and know that life is serving you up something that God has not promised you, to sit and stand in that misery and accept it and talk about you want to sleep and you love sleeping, the devil is a lie.
Certainly is.
And that bed is too. Whatever that bed is, you can get rid of it because it's too comfortable.
Yeah, it's trying to pull you down.
Yes, pillows and all.
I heard you got robot servers.
I do. Now, let me tell you something. So, basically, I always have to clear this up and tell people they are not there to replace people. What we do is we bring in, and this is where businesses fell behind in the midst of the pandemic. It really shined a light on the deficit because you have to implement technology or you'll be behind. These millennials and this generation that are coming, they are technical generations. You know what I'm saying? We have to be able to get the food out. They need to be able to be on their apps and all those different things. Well, these robotic services that we have inside of our restaurant, you can walk in and you can be greeted by a person as well as our robots, but also to your table. Instead of help our staff, the robot will come, and as the staff is busting the table, the robot is who would take and tote the load of those dishes back to the kitchen. You see, all those things help our staff because what people don't talk about is the wear and tear on your body of how many times you walk around in the restaurant serving and lifting and things of that nature. We don't want to do that to our franchisees and to our staff. We love our staff because they take care of our community and our people. So we bring in technology to assist to create that technological atmosphere, and it's going to be amazing.
So your restaurants are going to be, is it 200 or more that are going to be rolling out within what time span? And then talk to me about if anyone else may be interested in becoming a franchisee, how do they connect with you?
Absolutely. So currently right now we've partnered with the largest soul food advisor in the country is United Franchise Group, which has been amazing. I mean, they own over, I don't know how many brands, but they over in 80 countries, multi-million-dollar companies. Those are our the Americas, is what I call it, in America. We are on a 2-year time frame to achieve. We have over 40 that's already signed and in development. We usually grow by 10 or more a month, or what have you, so we're well on track to hit our 200 store and more. But we're already getting the calls now for international, global reach. So that's another dynamic that we're going to be moving into in our next year dynamic. But it's going great for those who are literally have a passion. First of all, because this is where my heart is and empowerment is, if you've worked in the restaurant industry or the hospitality industry or have experienced entrepreneurship of 10 years or more, burnt out but passionate about, number one, food, and in particular want to be a part of something that's bigger than them and want to be a part of history making when it comes to soul food, a new concept of elevating it. We're also looking for the individual who has a 700 credit score or more, or who partner with their maid or a partner who has that, because that allows us to connect you to our relationships, that if in fact you don't have all the liquidity that you need, we can get your project funded properly for our programs. And so those are the individuals that we are specifically looking for our programs. Outside of those development, of course, your developers, your investors, celebrities, and things of that nature are more than welcome to come through our vetting process to be selected as a licensee of one of our territories. The great part about it is so that people understand, because sometimes they want to know is how long is the process. It's a 3 to 4 month process to a point of not only owning but opening your doors. Within 5 months, you're open.
Oh, wow. Then that's really quick. That was a good, easy to understand explanation and telling folks how to do that. So I appreciate you for that. So tell us, Dr. J, I know you got this radio show that you're doing where you counsel on the show.
Yeah, so basically what we do is on KJLH 102.3, which is owned by the great legendary Stevie Wonder, as well as on podcasts. Then we're on several other platforms. Basically, we have a show now. It's called Do I Want to Stay Married? And so my niche of these 13 episodes currently right now is we talk about marriages specifically, and then we also do some relationship because many people are also still single. But the concept of the show is not only counseling on the show, but I have co-hosts and different dynamics that I bring onto the show to bring different perspectives. My responsibility on the show is I create a transparent, uncensored, but a clear atmosphere that allow people to share from their perspective what's going on with them, to be real, in a judgment-free zone and a safe atmosphere where no one's jumping on them, that they can just let it all out. And what I make sure is by the end of the show is that the right tools are given, the right information has been gathered. So for those who are listening or viewing, could actually find themselves somewhere in the conversation to either be healed or that we encourage them to say, you know what, I need to get me some help, and we'll probably do so. So those are the things. I mean, we laugh, we cry, we fuss a little, but at the end of the day, we all come back together in agreement that we all want to be better. The way the show came about with Do I Want to Stay Married is my spiritual dynamic in my heart is I found out something, Lynn, and I want to share this with you because you may agree or disagree, but I'm going to share my little point to you, okay?
Okay.
Is I believe, Lynn, and in my living now for a while, and all I've been told to share it as a grown up in the church, is I believe that God could go to the deepest of hell and he will come get you. I believe he can snatch people out of the worst dynamic and situation. I believe he can unlock the gates of hell and the prison bars. I believe he can do it. He can do it, and he has done it. I believe that.
Oh, no,
I believe he can snatch you off the deathbed. He can snatch you. Got you.
Yes.
I believe that you can be in the most beautiful places, and God will come there and he will dwell with you. I do. I believe that. Lynn, I found out in all my walk. Do you know I found that there's only but one place God won't go?
What's that?
I did. I found out one place. People tell us, I said, no, there's one place he won't go. I just found it a couple years ago, and that's what the book is, and the show is all about Do I Want to Stay Married? You ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
Now, his text says, the Bible says that you can't serve two masters, right?
Right.
You can love one, but you got to hate the other. The one place that God will not go is in the middle. The problem in relationships, do you know it's okay not to want your relationship or your marriage? It's okay. Matter of fact, what I tell people is that if you don't want it and they come off us, get rid of it. See, just because you get rid of it don't mean you got to change people.
Really?
See, no. You could just get rid of that particular history and compliance of that relationship, but we can get a new one with the same person. You see? Okay. But what you can't do, because this is where people hurt people. This is where all the danger and the death happen and the destruction happen. It's that indecisive place. You got one foot in and you got one foot out. What I call it in the church is you're too saved to leave and you're too hurt to try.
And isn't this something in the scriptures about a double-minded man?
Ooh, it's unstable.
Yeah. I
And
guess.
baby, ain't nothing like an unstable person that when they double-minded, one day they'll love you, and the other day they'll kill you. They will. They'll kill you with their words, how they treat you. See, those are things that break hearts every day. God has never hurt nobody. Love has never hurt nobody. Relationships have never hurt nobody. People have. They're indecisive person. Because I'm like this in relationship. Either leave me or stay. But if we gonna stay, we're not gonna continue to cut each other. That's not what we doing.
No, we're gonna work this thing out.
I don't care what Johnny did to you, baby. If he done cheated with 20 of them, if she done laid up with 50 of them, then leave. That's a journey all by itself. But if you gonna stay, what we not gonna do is keep digging in this trash can about who Johnny done been with, how did it happen? What good could ever come from any of that? What we need to do is say, you know what? We don't want any of that anymore. Let's start a new day. See, that's what God does. That's what His blood did.
So,
It redeems us. You see?
So, Dr. J, but if people want to reach you either about the franchise or about the radio show or about the book that's coming, how do they reach you? Like, just reach out to you on social media. How can they find you there, and what's your website?
Okay, so the best thing to do is if you're interested in any of the Dr. J platforms, counseling, radio, TV, entertainment, any of those things of nature, you can go to Dr. J the Counselor, COUNSELOR.com, Dr. J the Counselor, and on there all the information is there to follow. All the platforms, dynamics, what have you, and to connect with us. If you're interested in the soul food, celebrity soul food brand, the franchise opportunity, and to know more about us, just go to celebrity, CELEBRITYS, soulfood.com, or celebrities with the S, soulfoodfranchise.com, and all the information is there, what have you. But if you just want to connect to your boy and you can't remember any of that, Google Dr. Frederick Jacobs, and it's all over the shirt. It should come up, you know. I'm the black one, that's all.
Dr. J, Frederick Jacobs.
Yes, ma'am.
CEO of Celebrity Soul Food, counselor, a radio host, and pastor. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today and offering something that could help empower others in business or just in life, period.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. That means a lot to me with everything inside of me. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for having me, and to all your following listeners and all those who will be viewing and listening to this, man. God bless you, but don't sleep. Don't sit on it. This is the best time in life right now. Is if people can see beyond the headlines of the news and see that God has a greater day and great things are in store for us. Let's go get it.
And audience, thank you for joining us today. Now make sure that you subscribe by hitting the subscribe button right now. And also like and comment and follow us as well. And you're welcome to donate by hitting the donate button, depending upon which platform you are listening to us on. Now to reach me, Lynn Woods, you can find me on Twitter at Lynn Woods, that's LINWOODS, or Instagram at Lynn Woods 96, or Facebook, Lynn Woods. This has been the Lynn Woods Gospel Entertainment Podcast, where we talk to inspire. God bless.